Hi, I'm Jang, a senior at Penn, and to give a general idea about who I am to those who don't know me, if I had to put a letter grade on my life, I would give it at least an A if I were feeling humble. Um, there was never a point in my life where I felt I was lacking anything or could not get what I truly wanted if I tried hard for it. I also grew up in a Christian household and went to church every Sunday for as long as I can remember. However, I only went because my parents went. And although I knew most of the stories in the Bible, I never truly believed in God. My parents were very involved in the church, always attending Bible study and serving in the church in multiple areas. Despite going to church of over 10,000 people, they seemed to be very close with the pastoral staff. And I always felt uncomfortable acting the good Christian child every time I had to meet any elder from the church. So I hated going to church. I told my parents about this in elementary school, and they suggested that I go to a retreat in church to give God one more try. The retreat confirmed for me the belief that church is for people who need something to rely on. Everyone at church seemed too broken and unstable. I thought God, whether he exists or not, was a being that people needed to attribute their sufferings and thankfulness to. And I thought that Christians were people who wanted to believe in a greater power that controls their lives and did not want to take responsibility for their own actions. I thought if believing in this being made Christians' lives better than by placebo effect, then let them go for it. But I did not need that. I was satisfied with my life and felt the hours at church was a waste of time. But my parents wanted me to go to church, and I grudgingly went to a different service from them and borrowed comic books beforehand and read them in the very back or slept. I soon found my time at church a waste and told my parents straight up, I'm not going. I told them I did not want them enforcing their religion on me and told them I'm free to choose my religion. Despite my parents' pleas, I didn't go to church in middle school or high school. Then I got to Penn. Before I got here, my parents and my sister told me to do them one favor, and that was to check out the Korean church group at Penn for a semester. I told them I would, just so they would stop bugging me. Checking out KCAP, the Korean Christian group, led me to go to GCC because Pastor Joe and Pastor K came to our first meeting and told us that there's a Korean service at GCC called Jubilee. When I went to GCC, I was placed in a family group, but I did not know the family group leaders, so I just ignored all their texts, friend requests, and emails they kept sending me. Anyways, I went to Jubilee and KCAP every week because I hated saying no to people, and there weren't that many people in either group, so people noticed if I was not there. I also felt like I needed some ties to the Korean community because I was only hanging out with American kids in my hall. Then retreat came next semester. I hated the idea of going to retreat because it brought back all the feeling of pointlessness and awkwardness when everybody else was so emotional. So I was not planning to go, but my friends and people at GCC kept asking me if I was going multiple times. I did not have a good enough reason to tell them no. I hate saying no. So I went with negative expectations. My small group leader turned out to be the family group leader of the family group I was not attending. So I felt even more awkward. I slept most of the first day and second day of sermon and did not even try to stay awake. Small group time was hard because I had to pretend that I listened to the sermons. I would usually say, yeah, I agree with what everyone said. During the long prayer session that night, everyone was crying and praying, so I found a cozy space where I was surrounded by people who didn't know me, so no one would approach me to pray, and then started to pray on my own since there wasn't anything better to do. I remember just asking God for answers to my questions during the time. The first question had to do with being uncertain of my path in the following years because I needed to decide if I wanted to go to the army or delay it. The second question had to do with not liking my home church, not wanting to go there during the summer. I was also praying for God to show me that He is truly there, and if not, I'm done with this religion thing when the retreat ended. Since everyone else was doing it, I decided to receive prayer from a pastor that I had never met, and he gave me straightforward answers to my question without even asking me a word about anything. He told me I do not have to worry about which path I should take because God is always there with me. I was also told I should not judge the church and only go to seek God. Even then, I thought it was mere coincidence that the pastor answered the questions I threw at God exactly because I'm programmed to fit in the answers and hear what I want. I went back to my little space and started praying by myself. During that time, and out of nowhere, any thoughts I had faded away. I found myself sitting in the dim room praying and realizing that it was the happiest and the most content moment of my life. It felt right to be there, and I would not trade anything for that moment. The only explanation that I could think of was God. It was like a cloud over my eyes became clear. I did not have an emotional outburst, vision, and did not hear God's voice, but I knew that was where God wanted me to be and that He was there with me. Even now, nothing can compare to that moment, and nothing in this world can offer me the joy and contentment I experienced that day. So I continue to believe that God is real and Jesus died for my sins. From then on, I had a new perspective on the Bible stories and the Jesus that I had heard from a young age. I thought I did not need God because I was so proud and thought I was better than the rest. But that wasn't true. So why did I wait until senior year to get baptized? When many people find out that I'm getting baptized now, they're surprised that I did not get baptized yet. I did not feel the need to get baptized then and felt that I would eventually get around to do it. I also thought I was not ready. I felt I was lacking and needed more preparation. However, recently, I felt the time was right, and I knew I'd always be lacking, but that's okay because God is whole. Now I realize my flaws and that I am broken and nothing without Jesus. So when I meet a friend who doesn't know Jesus, I want to let them know the joy and eternal satisfaction He gives. So my verses. 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Jesus Christ for you.
Amen.